Don't come for the holiday party, my mom said softly, her eyes darting away like even she couldn't face the weight of her own words. We'll act like we don't know you, my sister added with a smirk, her arm looped tight through her boyfriend's as if mocking me was her party trick. Silence wrapped around me, heavy and sour. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I didn't remind them that every holiday for the last 10 years had been held together by my cooking, my cleaning, my endless swallowing of insults. I just stood there in the kitchen, the hum of the fridge louder than my pulse. Hi everyone. My name is Elena, I'm 27. And if you think this is the kind of story where I collapse in tears, think again. Because what do you do when the people who raised you erase you like an old stain? What grows in the silence where love was supposed to be? That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, tracing every crack like it was a map to freedom. My sister's laugh echoed in my head, sharper than glass. My mom's whisper replayed, soft but fatal. They thought I would disappear quietly. But here's the thing, quiet doesn't mean powerless. I didn't show up at the holiday party. I didn't send a text. I didn't even call. Instead, I did something else. Something that would make its way into their pristine living room like a shadow creeping under the door. When her boyfriend scrolled through his phone at the party, laughing with a beer in his hand, he froze. My picture filled his screen. Me standing in the city light, my arm wrapped around someone he knew far too well. His eyes went wide. His drink slipped. The laughter around him faltered. By midnight he was gone. By morning so was she. The phone call started 5 days later. Sharp, desperate, unrelenting. My mom's voice cracked through the line. Elena, what did you do? My sister screamed in the background, her sobs spilling like broken glass. I held the phone to my ear and let the silence stretch long enough for them to feel it. The same silence they gifted me. And that's when I smiled, because for once the silence wasn't mine to carry. If this ever happened to you, say, same in the comments. The phone pressed hot against my cheek, their voices overlapping, tangled in panic. What did you do, Elena? My mom asked again, her tone no longer soft but frantic, brittle like porcelain about to shatter. My sister's voice pierced through in the background, raw and jagged. You ruined my life. Do you even realize what you've done? I leaned back in my chair, letting the sound of their unraveling wash over me. For years I'd been their emotional punching bag, their designated scapegoat. And now for the first time they were choking on the taste of their own cruelty. Calmly I whispered into the phone, you said you'd act like you don't know me. So, stay consistent. I hung up. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It pulsed with power. For the first time I wasn't begging to be included. I wasn't scraping at the edges of their table for crumbs. I had stepped out of their shadow, and in doing so I had cast one over them. 5 days had changed everything. My sister's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend now, had walked away without ceremony. He didn't block her, didn't scream. He just left. Cold, quiet, final. And everyone at the holiday party had seen it happen. They saw her crumble in the very room where she and Mom had laughed about not knowing me. That image was worth more than any revenge I could have scripted. But the calls didn't stop. 3 voicemails from my mom, each one more desperate than the last. 2 texts from my aunt accusing me of going too far. A blocked number that I knew was my sister. I didn't respond. Instead, I walked to my window and watched the city move beneath me, cars streaking like veins of light, strangers carrying lives I'd never touch. For the first time I wondered, was this freedom? The ache in my chest told me it wasn't complete yet. Because revenge isn't just about making someone hurt. It's about balance. About restoring the weight they stole from you. And as much as my sister cried and my mom begged, I knew they hadn't felt the full measure yet. I whispered to myself, they wanted me invisible. Let's see how it feels when I'm unforgettable. And with that thought I began planning my next move. The next morning, sunlight cut through my blinds, sharp and golden. My phone buzzed again, 3 missed calls, 2 voicemails, and a long text from Mom that began with, Elena, please. And ended with, you owe us an explanation. That word lodged in my chest like a splinter. For years I'd owed them everything. My time, my silence, my obedience. They cashed in on my kindness as if it were their birthright. But now they were demanding explanations they didn't deserve. I opened my laptop instead. A folder waited on my desktop, one I'd built over the years without ever knowing why. Screenshots of texts where my sister mocked me. Emails where Mom compared me to her golden child. Photos from gatherings where I'd been the one behind the camera, never in the frame. A digital archive of invisibility. I dragged the folder into a new one and labeled it, proof. But this wasn't about posting it online, not yet. That would be too easy, too final. I wanted something slower, something they couldn't escape. A story they would have to live inside. I started small. I updated my social profiles, changing my pictures to the ones from my recent trip. Me smiling, surrounded by friends they didn't know existed. Me in places they'd never been invited to. Me radiant in ways they never allowed me to be. And then one subtle post. Not dramatic. Just a single photo. Me and someone very familiar. My sister's ex. The caption was simple. Unexpected company, better conversations. I didn't tag him. I didn't need to. Within an hour, my aunt texted, "What are you doing, Elena?" By evening, a cousin messaged, "Girl, your sister is losing it." I didn't reply. I closed my laptop, leaned back and let the tension coil tighter. Because this was just the opening scene. If they wanted me erased, I would write myself so boldly into their story that they'd choke on every word. And tomorrow the real unraveling would begin. The unraveling began sooner than I expected. By noon the next day my phone buzzed with a storm of notifications. Screenshots sent by distant relatives, group chats I was barely included in suddenly lit up with my name. My sister's rage had gone public. She wrote long, furious posts about betrayal, about fake people who smile in your face while stealing behind your back. She never mentioned me directly, but everyone knew. And the irony? For the first time in years they were all talking about me. I sat at a cafe window sipping coffee, watching the world move while hers collapsed. Then came the call I didn't expect, her ex. His voice was calm, almost too calm. "Elena," he said, "I didn't mean for things to blow up like this. But I'll be honest, your sister's mask slipped the night of that party. I saw her cruelty. I should have seen it sooner." His words weren't what shook me. It was the relief in his tone, like leaving her was a blessing he hadn't realized he needed. For years I had carried shame like it was stitched into my skin. But hearing him, it hit me. Maybe I wasn't the broken one after all. Maybe they were. So I didn't soften. This wasn't over. That evening I went through my folder again, selecting a few choice pieces. A message my mom once sent, "You should learn to be more like your sister." Another where my sister bragged about using me for money when she needed a quick fix. I didn't post them, yet. Said I printed them. Paper has weight. Paper can't be deleted. The holiday party had made me invisible. Now piece by piece I was making myself undeniable. When I tucked those printed pages into an envelope, sliding it closed with steady fingers, I felt the shift. The next chapter wasn't about proving myself. It was about holding up a mirror so they'd finally see themselves. And once they did, there would be no unseeing. I mailed the envelope on a gray Thursday morning. No note, no return address. Just their names scrawled in my steady handwriting. Each page inside carried pieces of the truth they had buried, every word a reflection of what they had done to me. By Saturday the silence shattered. My aunt called first, her voice low, urgent. "Elena, what did you send them? Your mom's been crying for hours. Your sister, she's furious. She says you're trying to ruin her." I almost laughed. Ruin her? I hadn't written a single lie. I hadn't added a word. I'd simply handed them their own sentences pressed in ink. It was never about creating a story. It was about reminding them that I was never blind to theirs. That night, I imagined their faces as they opened the envelope. Mom reading the words where she compared me to my sister like I was a half-formed shadow. My sister seeing her own texts where she admitted I was her safety net when she ran out of money. The beauty of truth is that it doesn't need to be shouted. It just sits there heavy, undeniable. By Sunday I got another call. This time from my cousin. His voice carried something I hadn't heard before, respect. "You know, Elena, people always thought you were the quiet one. But I think you're the strongest. You didn't even need to yell. You just showed them." I hung up, staring at my reflection in the dark window. For the first time I saw myself not as the forgotten daughter, not as the overlooked sister, but as someone unshakable. And yet, the storm wasn't finished. Because revenge isn't just about confronting the guilty. It's about letting them sit in the echo of their own words. And I knew my sister wouldn't stay silent. She would strike back. And when she did, I was ready to let the world see who she really was. It didn't take long. By Monday morning, my phone lit up with notifications. My sister had gone nuclear on social media, long venomous posts filled with half-truths and outright lies. She painted herself as the victim, the betrayed sister, while describing me as jealous, manipulative, even unstable. Comments poured in from people who didn't know the whole story. Some believed her. Others, curious, started asking questions. Screenshots began circulating, ones she hadn't realized were already in my possession. I sat at my desk, scrolling through the chaos, and for a moment I almost felt pity. She was drowning, thrashing in the shallow water of her own lies. And the more she fought, the more she revealed. Then came the message that shifted everything. It was from her ex again. Just a single line: "If you need me to back you up, I will." I stared at it, my fingers hovering over the keys. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. His silence online spoke louder than her screaming posts. Every person who saw his absence of defense knew something wasn't right. By evening, a cousin posted publicly, "Funny how receipts always surface. Careful what you pretend didn't happen." And just like that, the tide turned. My inbox filled with quiet apologies, relatives admitting they didn't know how bad it had been. But I didn't answer them either. I walked to the mirror, studying my face in the dim light. For years I'd swallowed insults until they etched themselves into me. Now I watched as they fell away one layer at a time. My sister thought her rage would bury me. Instead, it uncovered her. And yet I wasn't done. Because justice wasn't about watching her spiral. It was about making sure she couldn't twist the story back again. The proof I had left untouched was still waiting. And when I released it, she would finally understand what it felt like to be erased. Only this time the silence wouldn't save her. The folder of untouched proof sat on my desk like a loaded weapon. I had held it back for months, maybe years, waiting for the right moment. My sister's rage had given me that moment on a silver platter. I chose 3 pieces. That's all it would take. The first was a voice note, her own voice, laughing as she bragged to a friend about how easy it is to guilt Elena into paying for things. The second was a bank transfer screenshot where she had begged for emergency money, while posting vacation selfies the same day. And the third was the cruelest. A private message to mom mocking me for still being single at almost 30, calling me a burden she wished would just disappear. I uploaded them carefully. No captions, no commentary. Just evidence timed like steady blows. Within minutes, the ripple started. Comments shifted. People who had defended her earlier went silent. A few even deleted their post. Relatives messaged me privately, "We had no idea. We're sorry." By nightfall, my sister's account went dark. She deleted everything. Her perfect image cracked wide open, and there was no glue that could put it back together. Mom tried to call again, her voice hoarse, pleading. "Elena, this has gone far enough. She's your sister. Please, stop." But I didn't feel like stopping. Not out of vengeance, but out of clarity. They needed to understand. Every cruel word, every dismissal, every mocking smile had led here. This wasn't destruction. This was revelation. I didn't answer her call. I simply posted one final line, plain and sharp. "You told me to be invisible. But now you'll never forget me." And then I closed my laptop, the city outside buzzing with its indifferent hum. Tomorrow the silence would finally belong to me. The next morning the storm was quiet. Too quiet. No calls, no posts, no frantic messages lighting up my phone. For the first time in weeks, the digital world was still. I sat by my window, coffee in hand, waiting for the weight to return. But it didn't. Instead, something lighter settled in like air after rain. By noon an email arrived. From my aunt. Short, clipped, "Your sister's moving out. She says she can't face anyone here. Your mom is devastated. She wants to talk, but maybe give it time." I read it twice. Moving out. The golden child who once paraded her perfection at every gathering was now hiding from the same family that had crowned her. And my mother, who had whispered for me not to come, was left clutching the silence she had given me first. That evening I walked past the old family house. Through the glowing windows I saw the table, half-set chairs pushed unevenly. For years I had stood in that kitchen, filling plates, filling silence. Now the chairs were empty. The laughter gone. A wave of memory threatened me, but I didn't step inside. I didn't knock. I simply stood there, letting the truth sink in. I didn't need their table anymore. My phone buzzed once. A text from Mom. Just 6 words. I see you now. I'm sorry. I didn't reply. Forgiveness wasn't mine to hand out like candy at a holiday party. Forgiveness, if it ever came, would take time. But justice? Justice was already here. Because revenge isn't fire and fury. It's the quiet shift of power. It's watching the people who erased you finally face the outline you left behind. It's knowing that for once they can't rewrite the story. I turned away from the house, the night air cool against my skin. My reflection followed me in the dark glass of parked cars. Steady, certain, unshaken. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the forgotten one. I was unforgettable. And that was enough.